Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my reviews of the works of Junji. If you've noticed that I did not say fragments of horror, that is correct, because today we're starting a new one. And before you ask, we will get back to the last four of fragments of horror after we take a little detour through some of the other works of Junji. Right now, we will be talking about, it has one of my favorite of his horror stories at the back of it. So we'll get to that one, because that one's pretty good. We're talking about Deserters. To those of you who probably can't read backwards, D-E-S-E-R-T, that's that one, E-R, Deserter. Oh, it doesn't have an S, so it's just Deserter. To those of you who saw the last episode, the last one was a bit depressing, so I will keep a higher cadence with this one, because this one is actually, the only reason why it has a good rating is because it's slightly comedic. And today we'll be talking about Biohouse. Have you heard of Biohouse? Probably not. Because, to be fair, whenever I bought this, I didn't know much of anything about Junji Ito. The first ones I actually bought were Uzumaki, Fragments of Horror, and Tomie. To those of you who know, you know. And I will get to those bigger ones, because another one that I bought is slightly bigger that we will be doing later on. Moving forward with Biohouse, we will be back to Fragments of Horror next week. You probably can't see it in the background back there, but there's also the other one that I will do after I finish a few of Deserters, and then do that one, and that one will probably round out our week, and we will be right back into Fragments of Horror. Now, leading off on the correct foot, hopefully, the right foot, left foot, you know, we open up, conveniently, this is always how I feel most of Junji Ito's stories start, is the main character is a female, unless you are Tomie. Tomio. That guy. I looked over there and saw, because actually I haven't really noticed this that much, but most of the stories that I've shown on here, I think, have all been, the main character has been female, except for Tomio, or the red turtleneck, if you wish to call it that. There'll probably be an image of another male main character over here that I went over besides Tomio. If there's not, it'll just say no. We'll see. We'll see it in post. Either way, we open up with a young woman on her trip to her boss's house, which is really weird. But there's not much on the opening parts of it, so we move forward onward to she meets her boss at his exquisite mansion that he lives at. I don't know what kind of business they do, because I didn't write it down, because I made a lot of these scripts at like 2 in the morning last night. So let's go. I'm running on maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep, but we're vibing. So, moving onward. I've said that enough times that I should start putting a counter up every time I said moving forward or onward. Somebody will do it eventually, and that's what I'm hoping for. Upon arrival, and she is greeted with a lot of fanfare. She is serenaded with violin music as she is walked through his house. She heads up to her room, and at that point, I would be slightly worried, being, I'm assuming a single young woman in a random dude's house. It just doesn't seem right. But with Japanese, Japanese customs, usually a senpai or an underling of a boss usually has to show the utmost respect to their boss, so that is why I might have a differing point of view on this, whereas, other peoples of other cultures will have different views as well. But she is then greeted later that night with a a horrid feast for me, but I guess for these two, they really like it. It's like, it's dead or alive bugs. There's like a fried lizard, and that is what our main character, Kubota, which if you're American, that's a tractor company, which I think, if I'm correct, it's actually, no, it's Husqvarna. Never mind. Not important. I don't know where Kubota comes from. It probably comes from Japan, because that is how they split their syllables, and this character's also named it. There's pictures of tractors if you really want to know anything about that, but that's not important. There's, you know, worms, live crickets, and, as I said, fried lizard. I wouldn't want to eat any of that, but apparently the only thing our main character could stomach is the fried lizard. Eventually, the host, her boss, heads back into, I hope, is a wine cellar to grab an exquisite wine, but instead he comes out with a bottle of blood, which he pours her, and she tastes it. It's disgusting, because she was like, oh, is this snake's blood? You drink snake's blood? That's nasty. That's cool, but nasty. I wouldn't do it. This video gets 500 likes. I'll eat some insects on the next video. I'm not drinking snake's blood, but I'll eat it. I'll eat like some crickets or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That's what I'll do. I'll eat some crickets, or like one of them like water beetle. But I've heard that they're disgusting. So I've ate a cricket before actually, but it was covered in chocolate. So you know that's a lot different from just eating raw insects. But if this video is 500 likes, that's how many we gotta get. Or if we get 700 views, you know what to do. You know what? I'll change that, because I feel like that's a bit outrageous. I actually want to see this kind of happen. So 100 likes, 150 views. If that could happen, I will eat either live crickets or a live water bug. Y'all have till next week to hit that goal. Let's see what happens. If it hits the goal early, I'll give it as a vote to either eat one, the other, or both. So, tastes blood, disgusting. The dude gets really defensive about it. He gets mad, in fact. He does not like the idea that she does not like this blood that she's tasting. It's his blood. Yeah, he's mad that she doesn't like the taste of his blood, which is really weird. That you would do that. It's like drugging someone, but you know, I guess it's a type of harassment. Whatever type of harassment it is it will be put up right here. It's some form of harassment. I know it. It's gotta be. If it's not, then... So on our crime list right now, we have harassment. Later on, we move forward with her being rather disgusted by it. He then tries to force her to drink it. It's another form of harassment or a form of assault. We'll keep a tab of what kind of crimes this man's committed. I'm now enthralled by this. But he then tries to force it on her. She eventually just knocks it out of his hand. He gets even madder, to which he pulls down his shirt to reveal his neck, which is bandaged up, to which he rips off the bandage, revealing the scars from him jabbing himself with a knife, exclaiming that, you know, his blood tastes good. That's weird, but I digress in that matter. Ugh. He then stabs himself, and it just starts spraying everywhere, to which she tries to run to the door, can't get out the door because it's locked. And as the dude's walking down the hallway, his blood sprays over his servants, to which they go nuts, because apparently they're vampires. Almost fell off the desk. They're vampires, which would be a really cool story if they were the main villain, because they stop the dude, like they hold the dude down because they're like, bro, give us some of this stuff. To which he's like, you can have all you want if you catch her. They run after her, and he also follows, but slower because he is a little large. He ain't running. So she goes upstairs, and as she's going up the stairs, the vampires notice that one of the other ones is just licking it off the floor because it's everywhere. To which they're like, she's gonna eat all of it herself. To which they all immediately get on the floor and start licking the blood off the floor. To which the dude is furious, and he goes upstairs chasing after Kubota. Running upstairs, she hides in his storage room. And you know what's in this storage room? Every type of insect or weird creature that he just enjoys eating. Plus these massive crickets that are called a camel cricket. But it's a rare species where they're like this big. Excuse me? I don't hate bugs or anything, but if there's a bug that big, kill it with fire. It doesn't need to be around anymore. There's a reason why the giant insects of like the Jurassic and Triassic period are dead, because something killed it with fire. Thank you. It shouldn't be there anymore. Somebody had somebody else's back and was like, you know what? Giant insects are not the vibe. Either way, dude finally catches up to her, and he's in the room. He notices the giant cricket, and he's like, wow, and he says the description about it is the camel cricket mutation, and that's why it's so big. To whereas, while he's like, I guess, coddling it like a baby, like, oh wow, I can't wait to eat the last of this species. Cool, my guy. I hope you enjoy. Hope you use some wet wipes after that, because that's probably going to be disgusting. I'm sorry. Either way, moving on, she picks up a crate of snakes and just bashes it over his head. Snakes get out, everything. He falls into everything, and everything gets knocked over, and everything gets out. And upon everything getting out, she starts to go to the door, and as he stands up with the knife, like, I'm going to get the final jab in, and then he falls back down. He's dead. He's gone. He had a weird head injury. Dropped him. To which we move even further forward. She goes to walk out. As she's walking out, all the insects just get all over him and start, I guess, eating him, maybe. And as she's walking out, she delivers some Clint Eastwood one-liners and goes, how ironic, heads downstairs, and as she passes the vampires as she's walking out the door, she points upstairs and goes, there's plenty upstairs if you want any, as she walks out the door. Never in my days have I seen a character who has such, a Japanese character that has such, like, Western one-liners. There's, the classic, you got Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which his whole shtick is, trying to be like Clint Eastwood, which is kind of fun. I know that that's a side tangent, but we'll move on from that. Well, that is the end of the summary, which I should have said that before I said the JoJo's bit. But it doesn't matter. Not important. It really wasn't important. If it was important, I would have said it again, but it's not. Moving on, my rating for this one is the same as Futon. It would be less if the one-liners at the end were not funny. The first time I read it, they weren't funny, but going back over a few more times of this story, and I guess it's the whole thing of, like, you don't appreciate something the first time you look at it. It takes a few times, and you're like, wow, yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's what this was like. And I give it a 5 of 10, which is the same as Futon, for those of you who know, but on like, I guess a horror rating of it, it would be like a 2, because it's not that, there are scarier creatures in this story that aren't important. They're more of like bumbling buffoons, being, you know, the vampire servants. Yeah, those could have been really cool. And I guess like the whole reason why he's like, oh, women like the taste of my blood, is because all of his servants were women. So I mean, I guess this guy just collects vampires. Strange. I guess every one of them had like, oh yeah, I like strange cuisine. And he was like, cool, here, taste this. And then he realizes they're a vampire. So he just collected them. But yeah, most of my rating for this one is purely because the final panel was just that funny to me. Because like the vampires were like, what? There's more upstairs? It just goes upstairs. But yeah. Other than that, it's alright. It's not a grand story, and it's not boring, but it's fun. It's fun to say the least. And to be honest with you, I enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, come back to the next one. You know, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe. I'm not gonna beg anyone to, but it would be cool if you did. And on that note, thank you for watching. And please, do come back. Goodbye.